So the third thought for this week is that someday I will not have that. But it doesn't mean I don't have to have it now. Everything is fine to have. But to not develop an intensive attachment to that. And someday I won't have my wife. Either I will leave or she will leave. And if I had a child, someday I will not have that child. Either the child will leave or I will leave. And this building someday will not be here. And Miranunda will not be here. And everything will not be here. So, to realize that we are here temporarily. Life is temporary in the physical body. And we come here to learn. And not become attached to the forms and the objects and the temporary forms which the beings around us take. And to love the essence in those beings. The spiritual consciousness which is in those beings and not the body. Doesn't mean we don't have relationships with the body, with the other person, but that's not the focus of the relationship. The focus is that consciousness which is behind that body and that personality. So the third thought for this week is that there will be a time when I will not have that to which I am attached. There are three thoughts for this week concerning our attachments. I want to be free. I've suffered enough under this attachment. There was a time when I did not have it, if that sticks here. It may not. It may be something that you had. The body, you had the body from the beginning. So you may be attached to our body. And there will be a time when I will not have that. If we can just pass our various attachments through these screens, these filters, we may be able to weaken them and make these attachments preferences. We're not interested in becoming without preferences. We want to know what we want in life. Preferences give us a direction, give us a motive, a goal in life. But for it to be a preference, in a strong preference, I will give all of my energy, all of my time, all of my love to creating that. But if it's not created, I can accept that. I don't feel insecure. I don't feel unhappy, that I will not be well. That's a very difficult combination. There are people who have simply closed into themselves and don't make any effort to create what they have come to create in life. Other people who try to create but have anxiety and antagonistic feelings, stress in trying to create it. That quality of working and creating and trying to change ourselves and life, but being able to accept the results at every moment is an ideal which is very difficult to master, but it's what each person really needs to master. Because we have come here as instruments of the divine, as instruments of a divine power. And we don't have the right not to use that. And there's a parable in the Bible which says that the master gives 2 talent, it says, which is talents. It's the same word. 2 talents, or it was a piece of coin then, to one person, and 5 to another, and 10 to another. And those who had 5 doubled his, and he who had 10 doubled his, and he was given 1 hid his. He hid the 1 talent that he had. And he who hid his, the master took that from him and gave it to the others, and gave to the others power over even more money or more talents. So, or Christ cursed the fig tree, which was not producing figs. Repeatedly we get the message in the Bible that we are here to produce, we are here to create. That is, man is a link between a divine power and the material world. And as a link, he is a transformer which receives spiritual energy and transforms that spiritual energy into words, thoughts, and actions which change the vibratory quality of the physical world, change his own life, and changes the life of society around him. We have an obligation to create and to function, but we need to be able to accept the results at every point, not to have anxiety about the effort. Okay, so I don't want to say anything else today. We can go on to your questions or thoughts, especially if you have any questions about the work that you did last week on the childhood experiences or on today's discussion. Are there any questions or thoughts about the work we're doing at this point? Daniel.
List of childhood experiences. Maybe you mentioned it last week, but I didn't hear it. What's this B and the R?
The B is the beliefs and refers to the list of beliefs which you have also. So finding, for example, if looking at number 1, was there someone who got angry at you, scolded you, rejected you, or accused you? Who and when? We see that the beliefs that could have been created by that experience are numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And the R is the roles. I have not given you yet a list of roles. I will eventually, I hope. But as of now, you have the list of experiences and the list of beliefs. And I had made last week the process of getting free from childhood experiences, but I don't see it now. I can't find it. I'll give you next week. Other questions about what we're doing at this point? Okay, if there are no questions, then we can break up into our groups. You have another question, yeah?
Yeah, okay, so we're meant to make our own list also of childhood experiences.
Yes.
And I suppose we have to determine what beliefs.
Try to determine which beliefs were created by those experiences. And now, what is the result of those beliefs in your daily life? What's the consequences in daily life? Ferris?
Well, I have a question about the 3 thoughts that you were talking about today, where a person will develop the desires that they have. They start with a toy or a small car and they move to the bigger toy and so on. And eventually you will leave it behind, so there's no real essence in these toys. But is there any good thing that would fit this picture in the development at least?
Yes.
Wanting more.
First of all, did you finish? No? Yeah. First of all, we develop many abilities in trying to obtain those. We develop our mind and our bodies in many ways. We cultivate many abilities and talents in trying to obtain all of those things. And so we become more effective instruments of the divine on earth. It's someone who has not developed those abilities may have contact with a spiritual power within him, but he has no way of expressing that because he has not developed his abilities as a personality in the material world. And that's why it's usually useful for someone to have conquered the material world before he starts a spiritual process. I see sometimes when young people get into this path too early, eventually something changes in their life and they feel the desire to go out into the world again and to try to prove themselves. And that's very useful. And it would have been better perhaps if they had done it from the beginning, to prove themselves, to be able to function in the material world, so that when we then connect with spirit, we can be effective organs of that.